What about your natural gas system? Outside your house should be a natural gas meter. That meter has a little valve that leads up to it. That valve has it's like a butterfly valve. It's a quarter twist valve. As you look on the pipe, as the pipe goes up, there is a valve that runs the same way the pipe does. Turn that valve to 90 degrees. I'm sorry, yeah, to 90 degrees like a cross across the pipe. In other words, the pipe runs like this, the valve runs like this. Turn it this way, you turn that valve all the way off. You need to have either a gas wrench to turn that off, or some wrench that's nearby to be able to turn that pipe off to know that you've turned the gas off. To test that, it also has probably not moved in a very long time. Take your wrench, put it on there, turn the valve about 10 degrees, just a little bit, to know that you can turn the valve and then close it back off. If you turn it all the way off, you shut off the gas to your house, and now you're going to have the natural gas company come out and turn it back on for you and relight your pilot lights. The other thing you need to know is where the other gas shutoffs are in your house. If you have a furnace, there's a gas shutoff to your furnace. If you have a gas water heater, there's a gas valve at your water heater. If you have a gas stove, there's a gas valve behind your stove. Locate each of those, know where they are. It would be terrible for you to turn off the entire gas to your entire house when it's just the stove that's been leaking. You can turn off the stove, make sure it's not leaking anymore, but yet still have hot water and a furnace to live by. So you need to have those, take those out and know where those are. Pull out your stove a little bit. Look, only if you have a gas stove. If you have an electric stove, there's no gas valve to your electric stove. But make sure you know where each of those are and how to turn them on and off. So when do we know when to turn those off? Well, after electrical fires or after an earthquake, if you see sparking, you certainly want to go turn off those circuit breakers. If you smell gas, you smell the odor of gas, which, by the way, is put in there by the companies. Natural gas has no odor. It is odorless. It is an odorless gas. That smell, that kind of dead skunk in the middle of the road smell, that's the smell they put in there on purpose so that you notice it. And it's, by the way, that smell is put in very, very heavily. It takes a little bit of gas to make a whole lot of smell, kind of like it takes a little bit of skunk to stink up a whole neighborhood. They do that on purpose so that you can smell it very easily. And so you want to make sure you get rid of those. You turn those off. If you smell gas, turn the gas off. Don't turn it off if you don't smell gas, because it's kind of a pain in the behind to have to turn it back on. Some of the other fire hazards that you might have in your house is flammable liquids. We all store flammable liquids in our home. You say, no, I don't have any large storage of gasoline. Yes, but do you have cleaners, cleansers, those kind of things? Paint cans? All of those things are flammable in your home or garage. And so you might want to be careful about where those are placed. Are they near any place of open flame, like near your stove, near your water heater, those kind of things? And so you might want to make sure that those are placed in a place that are not going to catch fire easily. A lot of those things. In fact, if you go home and look under your sink in your kitchen and look it up, and it'll say flammable. And you see that? Well, there's something that you have a little something that would be flammable. Let's talk about those for a second. To help keep those things from bursting into flames all on their own. No, they don't do that. But we want to know where these flammable things are in your house. For example, if you were to have a loaded gun in your house, you'd want to know exactly where it is, exactly how it's stored, and who has access to it. Well, my argument is that if you have some of these solvents and everything else, you want to know exactly where they are, exactly where they're stored, so that you can be aware of them in case of an emergency. And there's a little mnemonic that goes along with that, and it's called L.I.E.S, L-I-E-S. The first one is you should limit the amount of combustible things that you have in your home. You shouldn't be storing large containers of gasoline, where your furnace is. That would probably be a bad idea. So you should limit the amount of flammable materials you have. If you have a garage full of old paint cans of paint that you haven't used, or was paint there from the people who you got the house from, it's probably time to get rid of those. Your community probably has once a year or so, have one of those things where you can turn in those old paint cans and turn in the old paint and the flammable things and get rid of those. Use the opportunity to get rid of those the old stores of paint and things that you don't have around. So you want to limit the amount of fuel that you have lying around. So that's L. The next is I, and that is you want to isolate. You want to take the flammable things you have and isolate them in a place. I don't mean lock them in the room because they've been bad. I mean you want to put them in a place that is away from your water heater or something like that. You want to keep them in a specific location, and you want to, for example, you want to keep them in the locked garage rather than you don't want to store gasoline in your bedroom. Not that many people would, but you don't want to store kerosene. If you happen to have kerosene lamps or something like that for fuel for your maybe for emergency preparedness lights or something like that. Well, you want to keep the fuel, the kerosene, stored somewhere else, along where you keep all of the extra the fuels. L.I.E. The E stands for eliminate. You want to eliminate things that are no longer necessary. Like I said, the old paint and things like that. You want to get rid of those things. And the last one is separate. L.I.E.S. You want to separate incombustible materials near corrosive materials. So you don't want to store, like battery acid and flammable materials next to each other. So you want to separate things that could cause one thing to have a fire with the other. Like you never want to store bleach and brake fluid together. Yeah, you never want to put bleach or ammonia together either, but you want to keep those chemicals and keep them safe and separated. So how else can you mitigate or lessen the problems of you having a fire in your home? You can install smoke alarms. Every house should have smoke alarms in key locations. If you're not sure what those locations are, all you have to do is go to First Alert's webpage. And First Alert's webpage will tell you where in your home you need to have, where in your home that you need to have smoke alarms. Outside of each bedroom, at the top of stairwells, and around the kitchen. That way your wife will know when the turkey's done. Then you want to have a fire. Go through your house looking at those fire dangers. Remember we talked about the L.I.E.S? Limit, isolate, eliminate, and separate. We want to go through in our house and see where those problems might be. We want to keep combustible materials away from curtains. If you have a beautiful home with beautiful candles that you light every year, but they're right next to your gauze curtains, that might not be a good idea. Do you have a water heater? That water heater needs to have plenty of fresh air around it. Is it overstocked with items that could catch fire? You also want to make sure that your children don't have access to matches. Keep them away from matches or lighters. Children light fires all the time. And the last one is never leave a fire unattended. You never want to leave like a backyard fire if you're barbecuing or having a barbecuing chicken and it's still smoldering out there. Never leave it unattended. Make sure it's covered and put out.